Have you ever heard of a passport bro? Have you ever heard of a passport bro? I can't believe that word is coming out of my mouth. What is this life? I'm Marco Arroyo. Welcome back to In Between Sundays. Before we get into the video, if you would consider liking the video, leaving a comment, let me know what you think and subscribing to the channel. Let me know what you think about passport bros. Have you heard of this before? And what's your opinion on this practice? Is it justified? Is it not justified? Also consider supporting the Patreon. You get some perks with that. No matter what tier level you give, you get all the same perks for it. You get to support the channel and some good things out of that for you, for your money. Again, thank you all so much for you who do support the Patreon. Either way, I'm just glad you're here. All In Between Sundays is about is just helping you know and see Jesus in between the Sundays. So in order to understand what a passport bro is, we need to go right to the source. And by right to the source, I mean to the official passportbros.com. Now you may say, Marco, there is no official website for something that's called a passport bro, right? Yes, there actually is. This is literally the official passportbros.com website. Okay, so what is a passport bro? Why should you care about it? A passport bro is a term used to describe a specific mindset and lifestyle choice adopted by men who have decided to pursue relationships with foreign women from different cultural backgrounds, often in countries outside their own. The concept of passport bros arises from a perception that traditional values and behaviors are more prevalent among foreign women compared to the cultural shifts observed in Western societies. This term is rooted in the belief that some Western women have embraced what is seen as an aggressive and hostile feminist philosophy that can lead to contentious relationships with men. Passport bros view these foreign women as potential partners who possess qualities they deem desirable, in contrast to what they perceive as negative attributes in Western women. A passport bro is the opposite of a mail order bride. If you're older, you know what a mail order bride is, right? It's I don't even have to explain what that is. If you don't know what it is and you're an adult, go look into that. It's a practice that people have had, and whatever, right? I'm not here to analyze that at all. But a passport bro is basically a guy who says, I'm done with American women and the values that they all have, so I'm gonna go and pursue a woman that has values that are closer to mine in another country. Now, feminism gets name dropped in this. He says that passport bros are fighting against what is seen as, in feminism, an aggressive and hostile feminist philosophy. So basically that women have become aggressive and hostile towards men and in their treatment of men. So therefore they go, I want to find a woman who isn't aggressively and hostile in her practicing and view of feminism. Now, I have my fair share of problems with feminism, and I have seen it go extremely bad, extremely toxic in the way that women can view men. It can be so ignorant at that. Notice the next paragraph. The passport bro mindset emerges from a range of concerns about modern Western dating and marriage culture. Among these concerns, one of the primary grievances is the perception that many Western women exhibit behaviors that are argumentative, confrontational, highly manipulative, and exhibit traits often associated with masculinity. So the women are too manly. Among the many traits that they have started to display are abrasive conduct, combative attitudes, and an overemphasis on anti-male feminist philosophy and combative individualism to the detriment of traditional gender roles. These behaviors, in the eyes of passport bros, are seen as incompatible with harmonious relationships and are believed to contribute to the breakdown of connections between men and women in the Western dating scene. So the women are too manly, and they say this is like the boss girl mentality. The boss girl mentality that is not only do I not need a man, I'm better than men, right? We don't need men at all, right? That is a very real thing that exists among many women. And so they say we reject that. We don't like that. And there is also this other element to it, which is like the liberation kind of stuff of the 60s. In the very next paragraph, that's what he's going to talk about, that those things are kind of promoted more and more and more. And they want women who are more modest. Now, this is where my mind starts to get blown in all of this. I have railed against the red pill bro stuff before. Now, I have railed against the red pill bro stuff before. You've seen me talk about it in a recent video that I did less than a month ago. But one hallmark of what it is for a lot of those people, there are severe problems with it. And I've mentioned those before, that I'm going to have multiple women, multiple wives, multiple girlfriends. I'm going to have a wife, but I'm going to have multiple other women that I'm with. That stuff is horrifying. That stuff is toxic, terrible for your family, terrible for your kids, terrible for society. But it's worth noting that there are some parts of the thinking here that are actually showing that something good is happening. Men are starting to realize, and they're starting to look at relationships, and they're starting to look at women in a better way in the modern culture that we're living in. There is a very real pendulum thing that I see happening with men today. Recently, a poll was conducted in 4 countries, South Korea, the United States, Germany, and the UK. And notice the divides in the vastly different divide, the branching off, the forking in the road of ideological gaps or beliefs, rather. Notice this in South Korea, the red line is the women and the blue line is the men. Notice as time goes by, it starts off right around 2005 and it's going to the modern day today. Notice the gap in their ideological differences here, how they're branching off right around 2016 in South Korea, the US right around 2006, 2008 or so, but really it became pronounced 2014, 2015, maybe, if I had to guess, just looking at these hash marks here. The branching off, look at how vastly different they're starting to think about things, men and women. They're going in opposite directions. Germany, very similar thing, opposite directions. UK, they're both kind of going towards the left, but the women are far more left than the men are. That is saying something very, very interesting. There is a growing gap between men and women. And at the very least, I'm not going to comment on the women, but at the very least, when it comes to the men, they are having this pendulum swing and they are becoming, so many of them, much more conservative than they have been in the past. And conservative, many of them are becoming more conservative when it comes to their relationships and who they want to be in a relationship with. Check out what this woman said, and this is one example of what men are just running away from like the plague now. Look at what she says.
So if you're making $50,000, don't date. Ooh. I'm just being for real. You're not ready to date.
Again, I'm with you when
you're not ready to date. You're not ready to date because courtship costs.
Okay.
Everything costs.
Okay.
You can go for 22 walks in the park. Eventually, shorty is gonna need a sip of something. She gonna be thirsty. This bottle of water is $3 in Atlanta. Let's not play. So if you don't have any expendable cash, don't date. And whatever that looks like for you, you might only make $50,000, but you live in a shoe, and now you got expendable cash. Or get you a bottom of the barrel that's gonna date you when you have no money. If she doesn't have that expectation, and I'm gonna tell you this right now, enjoy it while it lasts, because eventually you're gonna wanna run. Because she doesn't stretch you, she doesn't make you the man that you need to become. She allows you to be this stagnant dude in the same jeans for days. You know what I'm saying?
Be cutting up.
So I see why some women may feel this way, but look at how horrible at the same time that mindset is. And I'm not even going to go into the replies to this tweet because that lady's actually absolutely getting scorched earth roasted for that. But I can, I can see why men would see that and absolutely recoil. Some men say, I like the job that I do, or I don't like the job that I do and I'm working towards something better. But for you to say that I can't go and pursue love because I don't make enough money for you to spend extravagant amounts of my money so that I can get you to fall in love with me, then I don't want a woman like you. I don't want a woman with your values. And the sad reality is there are many women who have grown up in a superficial society, just like the men, but it's a little bit different here in these kinds of dynamics, these kinds of situations. I'm not at all painting with a broad brush. So many men see that and they go, okay, that's not what I want. What do I want? I want a woman who is not materialistic. I want a woman who is not superficial. I want a woman who is going to stick with me when times get rough financially. Again, there are lazy men, and she was kind of trying to point this to the idea of lazy men, right? However, there are many men who are not lazy and just don't make a lot of money. You know, there are a lot of amazing, noble jobs that don't pay a lot of money. There are people who forego money so that they can do something that they really love. The idea that you can't go and find love unless you want to lower your expectations and get someone, as she said, that is absolutely at the bottom of the barrel. Stuff like that is what a lot of young men are experiencing. And so it's causing them to swing this other way on the pendulum and to realize what they really do want in a relationship. And though I think sometimes it can be misguided, it at least is bringing people to a better conclusion. It is helping people understand what really makes a relationship good. It is not money. It is not materialism. It is not superficiality. It is the things that undergird all good, strong, lasting relationships, which are common values. That is what matters in relationships. That's what keeps a young relationship lasting into it's an old relationship that is even better than it was in the beginning. We love one another. We have the same values. And no matter what happens in this life, whether we are prosperous or suffering financially, whatever else might come, we love one another. We believe in one another, and we are going to stick by one another. Now, there are, again, a lot of misguided ways that this gets played out in the culture of red pill passport bros, but I do want to give some credit here, at least to the understanding of some people, that I've seen what is out there in certain areas and I want something that's better. Now, where I think the passport bro thing is absolutely misguided is the idea that those women don't exist in the West, that those women don't exist in America. My wife is not like the lady that we just saw in that video. I was completely, horrifyingly broke when I met who is now my wife, the woman that is now my wife. When she was just another person in this world, I was so broke. And when I tried courting her, I was absolutely broke. And we often went on dates that required basically no money. And it was never really a factor because we loved one another. And because of our shared values and our love for each other, we decided based on that to build a life together. So whether the money flows or the money is very scarce, we still have what matters. And there are still people, many in this country and in the West, and maybe it's a hard time for that right now, but there are still so many women that believe in those things. I might want to make this suggestion to you if you are a passport bro and you think you've got to go to other countries. Look for a godly Christian woman. That's what I looked for. And that's what many of my brothers in Christ looked for. Look for a godly Christian woman. There are more of them than you realize. And maybe before you do that, you've got to look for God yourself. I've never once regretted founding my life on Jesus Christ and founding my marriage on Jesus Christ. Those values, when believed and when received and when practiced, keep these relationships together. One verse I'm going to read to you. But from the beginning of the creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate. Do not let man separate what God has joined together. Here's my hot take on all this. You don't need to necessarily look in other countries for a relationship that is true and profound and beautiful. You primarily need to, and above all, need to look to Jesus, and you can find that in him. So I want to encourage you, try Jesus. Try Jesus for your life. Consider Jesus for your life, and not just something that is useful, not just as someone who is useful to your life in this utilitarian sense, but as the best and most rational way to live your life is the way of Christ. Let me know if I'm crazy about this whole passport bros thing. Am I reading it wrong? Am I understanding it wrong? I'm very, 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 very curious. If you ever want to talk, you got some questions about this, let me know. God bless you. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.